Christmas sweaters, things ugly.
Right.
Hey Diane, can you check the audio for me? Just say hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi, Jane.
Hey Diane.
Hi.
So I only say hi, Lisa, hi. I thought you were like yawning. I didn't know. I was like, I was just saying, we're all third. Hi, girl. Hi, there I am. Is it older than that or what? Yeah. It's definitely.
Ready?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Hey, everybody, I'd like to call the Madison Public Schools Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So first order of business is our school community session and public participation. Do we have any public participate online?
So we welcome public participation at our meetings, whether you're joining us in person or online. We ask before speaking, you state your name and your address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Because this is a regular meeting, the board and administration will not respond to comment necessarily, but the member of the public will be contacted for follow-up if necessary. Do we have anyone online who would like to speak at this time? If so, raise your hand. And we do not have anyone in person. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Board of Education Student Representatives Report for Asa and Catherine. Hi there.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you after Thanksgiving break. I hope you had some nice time off. Returning from Thanksgiving break, we had our trimester 1 exams. So definitely a stressful week last week, but I just really appreciate the teachers really preparing the students. I felt really confident going into all my exams, so couldn't ask for a better feeling than that. And we had started trimester 2 on Monday, so we're both a third way done with our year. It's kind of crazy to think about, but it's good times. Today was a really special day because the principal at hand, Mr. Salutary, has been a finalist for Connecticut Principal of the Year. There's only 2 finalists, so pretty big deal. And today the Connecticut of Association Schools came and interviewed teachers, parents, and a panel of students, which was followed by a tour of the school by 2 students. And we get the results on Thursday. So we're hoping he gets some recognition he deserves. And then on the 16th is the chorus concert and the 18th is the jazz chamber. So encourage everyone to attend if possible. And then something really positive is that attendance at sporting events, of course, which Kate will touch on, but attendance at other performances as well has been on the rise this year. So it's really positive that students are all getting the recognition they deserve for their talents, and we're seeing an uprise in hand students supporting each other. So we're really proud of that.
Yeah, and I completely agree with Grace. I think with exams, teachers were super helpful, so I felt super prepared too. So, yeah, going into it was just a really good experience. And then also winter sports are now in season, so they've been practicing, I think, for a while now. And most, if not all of them, I think have their first game tomorrow or within the next few days. But football is still in season as well, and they just had a big win yesterday in their semifinal game. That was home. It was a little cold, but they managed to get through it and pull through a great win. And so they will have their championship game on Saturday at 10:30 at the Coast Guard Academy. So again, attendance there. We're hoping a lot of students go and just like the public, everyone who can. So it should be a really cool venue and a really exciting game too. So hopefully it's a good turnout. And then there was also the Bermuda trip over spring break, which is a really exciting opportunity for a lot of students if they're interested. I believe 10 are signed up right now, so there's only a few slots left, which is honestly amazing because that seems like a lot of students are showing interest in it. So it should be a really interesting opportunity for anyone who wants to go because it is like a research trip, but that is over spring break.
Yeah, and then we just wanted to share some perspective on our grades right now. So obviously I'm a senior and it's definitely a stressful time for us. Early decision and early action decisions will come back within the next week or so. So students may know where they're going, but so far we've had some really impressive commitments and I'm looking forward to seeing where my classmates go or where they plan on going upon graduating from HANT.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then just for the junior class, I think unfortunately it is a super stressful year for everyone. I think we kind of met with Mr. Salutary this morning. We said it was kind of like the stress doesn't really go away. It's kind of consistent, but you just got to make it through. But everyone after exams I know are a little relieved. Some are feeling a little more stressed just because they're trimester. Sometimes they add things, they take away. But I think everyone seems to be managing it really well with positive attitudes. So yeah.
Great. Any questions? No. Thank you so much. Again, good luck, Grace,
Thank
with
you.
acceptances and get some homework done.
Yeah, thank you. We also have a little holiday gift for you guys. Sister, this hot chocolate cookies.
Thank you. Thank you. Did these come from Bake Shop?
Oh my god, I'm at the fresh market, but.
You've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Aw, thank
Yes,
you.
it was a little chocolate.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you so much. Cute. Oh, and of course. Oh, this is important.
Rose, how do we find out about Mr. Salutary? Will it be published
Yeah.
in the website, or I'd like to put it up on Brother Mike's Instagram page?
Yeah, we're hoping that it'll be in the news blast on Friday, but Mr. Salutary is very humble, so we may need some encouragement to get the word out, but.
Okay.
I'll share it.
Great.
Thanks, girls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
Bye, thank you.
All right, that was very exciting. I ate some cookies over here. Any audience response? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's get them again. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairman Costigan. So the board received, I give you a copy of our full enrollment report. We have received what I call a full review for enrollment each year for the past 4 years. Part of that was related to our building project, and then part of that I think is it's been tricky, you know, in Madison to do predictions with as you can see if you looked at the latest report, lots of fluctuations in home sales in town, homes for sale. There's not a lot of building, but you know, there's definitely some shifts in enrollment that we want to keep track of. We get 2 enrollment reports each year. We get one as a member of NESDEC, which I think is what I feel is a pretty high level review. And we commissioned this report from the MP planning group. It is the same demographer, even though the organization that Mike Zuba works for changes. I do like to also share that Mike is a resident in town with kids in our district. And so he knows Madison better than any other town in Connecticut. He does. His group is the one that does all the high level enrollment reports. I think he's the only player in the game anymore. There used to be a couple different firms that did that, but you know, Mike is taking a special interest in our work and is available. So if there's any questions that you have that I can't answer, or if you look at the report and have any, please feel free to email me. Mike's offered to Zoom in on a meeting or join us. But it is an area that you know, I think as the administration here, we've looked at this quite a bit. So I hope I can answer, you know, any questions you might have. So we have the highlighted slides for you on the screen. We do a 10-year look, and that is pretty traditionally what happens in enrollment reports. And the state will only consider 8 years. So when we were building Neck River, the most they would look at was 8 years, but we looked at a 10-year. As Mike likes to point out, as many challenges as there are with enrollment in Madison, he's been pretty spot on. So a 1.1% variance is pretty good return on that. Considering some of the challenges, one other challenge was and it didn't hit Madison as much as other districts, but was the change for kindergarten enrollment. As the board may know, the enrollment age changed to you're supposed to be 5 years by September 1. It used to be 5. You're supposed to be turned 5 by December 31st. So Connecticut has fallen in line with most other states that use September 1 as that cutoff. That has shifted a little bit, as you can imagine. Our enrollment for for kindergarten as a district, when we compared ourselves to others, most Madison families were waiting if they had, say, a November or December baby. But you know, we had some September and October, so it wasn't as big of an impact here, but it was an impact. And then we were starting to see some August and July babies waiting, so doing another year of pre-K before starting with us. We do have a waiver process, and that a family can come forward and ask for a waiver. We work with those families. There's been less and less of those as we've gone through a couple of years of this, and I am hearing that Connecticut is going to make it a firm date for September 1 coming up. So that could be a change, but we've had a few families take advantage of that waiver opportunity, and I would say for the most part, it's worked out that those students have been ready, and we're able to. We do a scale, so we're able to give some information to those families to say, you know, your child looks ready, or you might want to consider waiting another year. So. One of the best predictors, as you can imagine, for kindergarten enrollment is births in town. That actually, for families that live in town, you'll see huge fluctuations here. You know, back in 2000, when we had classes of 300 students per grade level, we saw 188 births, and you know, down to lows in the 80s. We had 3 years, which those students are like in, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th grade right now. 94, which was certainly you know, unique that they were that close in numbers, but we are predicted to see about an average of 130 going forward, which would lead to kindergarten class sizes predicted of about 180, 190, which is right on target with what we were planning on. So you know, that's a big piece. We always see positive changes in births to enrollment, you know, as families move into town after they've started a family. You know, enrollment again is no secret. We, you know, have declined as a district. We've kind of hit that bottom number and are starting to see increases that are, you know, very, very welcome, especially at the middle and high school. We have some space certainly available in those areas to accommodate increased enrollment. And as well, you know, one of the slides I didn't provide, but you know, I think the board is aware too, the median household price in Madison is $730,000. So, you know, we typically do see more mature families moving in. So families with, say, a middle schooler or you know, higher grade elementary, not necessarily you know, brand new family, you know, with kindergarten, although we certainly are seeing that as well. And you know, just some, you know, standards that we use in projections here, just, you know, highlighted for you. You know, that they do persistency rating. So as I shared, you know, we are seeing, you know, strong retentions of students. Again, not a surprise there. You know, typically families are, you know, if they're moving, you know, for job reasons. You know, we do talk to a lot of families as they exit the district. You know, it's typically job reasons. They're not leaving because they're unhappy with the schools or anything like that. It's, you know, really positive conversation when we're at that point, but we, you know, do see typically retaining once we start that kindergarten class, those numbers, and then adding to it. Next slide. You know, we use assumptions as you have to with any prediction. Mike Zuba has again recommended a median projection, so you'll see that as we go forward. But he does, which is very helpful, give us a high and low projection, and he's anticipating that there's no change in the attendance zones. And we did share with him the decision that pre-K would move to Brown, so that is factored into these numbers that we just received recently. So when we look at the projections, you know, you'll see that you know, we're predicted to increase to 2035, 36, a long way off, but you know, it's helpful to see these numbers, and I would imagine in a year or two we will be asking for an updated report. Elementary really does start to slow down. We see a higher increase in middle and high school, which again is very, very welcome, and a pretty constant pre-K number. We actually are seeing a decrease in pre-K students next year than we had predicted. As I shared, when it looks like when we're going from 2 schools to 1, we're going to be able to go from 4 classes to 3 and easily accommodate the students that we know about for pre-K. Now here's the piece that I think is somewhat of a challenge, but this was for the most part welcome news and what we expected. I think that you'll see. So when you look at next year's number, because we're moving pre-K, that increase in Neck River, it only looks like 4 students, but it's actually more than that. It's about 34 students in increasing at Neck River. So that's a pretty healthy increase. And then Brown, that reflects the pre-K going to Brown. What we have seen this year, especially with a new school, and a lot of conversations with parents have kind of vetted that out. Families are seeking to be in the southern end of town because of a brand new building, and that's what they're telling us. We've even talked to some realtors that have had those experiences with families as they're looking for homes. What Mike Zuba has seen and what other superintendents I've talked to have seen is that as we go a couple more years, that will start to even out. I think that there'll be less of a push. And I think we'll continue to do our best to show people inside of a Brown school, which we've done a lot of work. The board has supported a ton of work at Brown School. It really does look beautiful there, and we want to share that. So we don't fully attribute that to. I think the next slide has the Brown preschool, but I will show that in a little bit. Brown kindergarten this year was a very small class, so we saw that as we went forward. So we're working to address that. Certainly, they can accommodate the preschool, and so that is the move at this point. We are not recommending any other moves, but we're going to be watching this very closely, throughout the summer and into next school year. Be reported back to the board on where things stand. Summary of the findings, as I shared, for the most part, we're going to see higher increases at Polson and Daniel Hand. 5 years, we look to be at 2,757 students, which again is increase from the 2,450 or so we were a year ago. And high school enrollment is predicted to increase. We're at kind of the bottom of where we would be right now. In terms of the median projections, that's just a chart that shows where things line up and where it lines up with births that we know about, the projections of the births going forward. So and then we also look at, and you'll see in the larger report, the number of new housing permits, things like that. As you know, there's not a lot of new housing developments or housing permits being pulled, so it's we're not seeing that. And then the decrease in housing turnover that from what we had in 2020, 2021 has led to a little less enrollment than we were thinking at that point. So you'll see next year the kindergarten classes are looking to more level out with 78 at Brown and 113 at Neck River. Right now, you can see if you look at the first grade, it was a much more of a shift, a very small group at Brown for kindergarten. So we're welcome to see that news coming forward. And the schools are pretty healthy, pretty close to capacity as we look at there for the schools, and then they start to decrease a little bit going forward. So we're going to have to really keep a close eye on enrollments going forward and how things look at the schools. Pleased to report next year, Neck River, even with increased staff, would not have any specials on a cart or anything impacted like that would still be in a good place there. School's definitely full, but I don't, when you walk around the building, you don't feel like it's overcrowded. It's, but it is, you definitely, you see it when, parent drop off, pick up and bus lines, things like that. It's full, but it's working well. So questions that I can try and answer again, the big documents, pretty dense. So I just wanted to give you some highlights here, and I'm willing to keep the conversation going whenever questions you might have tonight or after.
Questions? I mean, it's encouraging to see, we're on a bit of a bounce back, and it looks like, according to the media model, there's going to be like steady but slow growth. So we can plan for it, we can address it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that really great conversations we have with families as they're ending a rental and trying to stay in town and working really hard to do that. And, the efforts I think that we see families make and the sacrifices and the things they do to stay in Madison is really, I think, a positive, comment on the district and our teachers and the climate. So it's really great to have those conversations and how happy families are when they come in and register. Like that. Okay. Finance committee talked about budget, so I won't take too much of Galen's thunder as when he gives his report tonight. But I just wanted to give you a heads up in terms of time frame and where things will be at. Galen will share this in a little bit more detail, but we do have some bad news on insurance renewal. That's kind of our second biggest account in terms of it's certainly one of our most volatile account as we go into budgeting. But we have some bad news on insurance. We're trying to mitigate that in several different ways, and so that will be a big story, I think, of our budget. And then we have, with the calendar landing the way it is, a little bit more time. A lot of times we came back from Christmas break, and that first Tuesday we were presenting the budget to the board. So we typically would give you the budget before we left on Christmas break. What we would do this year is give that to you when we return, because that will give us another month of look at insurance. So we have a little bit more time to hopefully change the number in a positive way and impact that. So what our plan would be to email you the budget on the 6th. We can print out any documents that anybody wants, but then on the 9th, that Friday, we would give you the bound copy. We like to give board members nice fancy bound copy of the budget. So you can, and you would receive, throughout the process, different versions, because this is the administration version. So we start in September working on that, and you'd receive the administration's proposed budget. We would present that, and we'll have all the administrators on hand to answer any questions of the board when we present that. Any questions you have ahead of time, we always welcome that, because that will be helpful, if there's something we need to research. But it's a staff that's been here a while, so for the most part they can answer any question on the fly you might have. And we would go through that process, and that really launches the month of January. We spend on creation of the school district's budget for the following year. So then the board would vote later in January to adopt the budget, and then that becomes the board's budget. So that's the first big step in the process at the board level. Any questions on that I have for me? That's my report. As our students mentioned, the football team has made the finals. It will be at the Coast Guard Academy. If you plan on attending, you need either a real ID or a passport to go onto the campus of the Coast Guard. So
Do you know what time it
it's at 10:30 in the morning. So great time and
What's it like?
should be in the 30-degree range. So so the band should be able to finish the game, which has been a problem. They're playing Killingly.
Then will they do 5?
Who's I don't know. Yeah, that's
Five,
the
five,
challenge. They're playing Killingly, who's number 2 in the state. We're ranked number 3 in the state, so should be a really good game.
You can get the app on your TV, watch that. There you go.
Yes, unless there was 5, but that.
Unless
I think-
there was
yeah,
5.
yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. All right, next is board member comments, and I would like to open that by just pointing out that the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education had their new member and leadership conference this morning through this evening, started at 8 and ended at 5. I wanted to thank Jessica for attending. I had a little discussion with her. She feels she learned a lot, which is great. And I presented on mission and vision and kind of the board's role in supporting systemic planning. So it went well. Any other board member comments? No. Okay. Thank you. Any audience response to information presented? Any audience online?
Anyone online who would like to make a comment, please raise your hand.
No. Okay, thank you. All right, item 7, our consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Emily, seconded by Kathy, thank you. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Next item is the board committee and liaison updates. And we'll begin with the Curriculum and Student Development Committee. We have a brand new, newly minted chair, Kathy. And so we get our first report from Kathy.
So we met this evening, the curriculum committee, which consists of Mary Ann Connolly and Jessica Weiland. We had the opportunity to hear from TJ Salutary and Mel Witcher, who informed us on graduation requirement courses and course changes, as well as provided us with department specific updates in the art department, the math department, science, and world language departments. TJ and Mel discussed curriculum changes in math, science, and world languages. These changes focused on increasing rigor and flexibility in math and science course work. And the changes to the math coursework will also provide the opportunity to continue a co-teaching model, which provides more varied support in some of those algebra classes. Some changes were made in service of offerings aligning more closely to developmental appropriateness and accommodate different student tracks, while others were made to keep up with the industry standards. Some changes were made to introduce 1 trimester elective science courses like conceptual astronomy to broaden student options. The changes to the art department offerings include wordsmithing course names in very intentional ways to better align the course title with its content. And there were also new designations made to several photography courses, as the tech components of these courses really lend themselves to make them into a STEM course, and they're more STEM in nature. All of the specifics for each of the changes can be found in the slide deck on our website. The committee recognized a clear through line in all of the work that TJ and Mel shared with us, and all of the changes that they made. And we feel administrators, teachers, and curriculum authors consistently revisit and refine courses and course titles and content with with intentionality. And their efforts reflect a commitment to applying the most current research and thinking across every curricular area. They're always looking to outgrow their best thinking, which we really appreciate. In addition to the changes in coursework, TJ shared a presentation on a proposed trip to Costa Rica on behalf of Miss Braga. The 9-day trip offers a unique learning experience tied to curriculum with fundraising supports available. They're planning to go over the 2027 April vacation, which seems kind of far away, but they need approval tonight in order to hold an informational parent meeting on December 17th. Details were shared that focused on student safety and the thoroughness of EF Educational Tours, which is a renowned tour group that organizes and leads educational travel experiences, focusing on cultural immersion, language learning, and hands-on experiences to bring subjects like history and science, STEM, and art to life outside of the classroom, while also handling logistics like flights, hotels, and support for teachers and parents. EF Tours transforms abstract classroom subjects into real-world adventures, making education more engaging and personally transformative for our students. So the partnership with EF really puts the whole trip into a whole nother realm. Which they also did the Bermuda trip, which the girls talked about earlier. So tonight we'll be asking for approval, or they'll ask for approval for, from the board for the adoption of the course, which is named Conceptual Astronomy, and the Costa Rica trip, and all information is in your packet. We adjourned at 5:55, and if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Any questions?
Jen.
Oh,
I have
yes.
I have a quick question. I don't know if you want to answer it now or during the discussion when we vote on it. So I'll state my question, then you can tell me when you want to answer. My question is regarding these trips when they're planned so far in advance. Like if you go to the State Department, they have levels for countries for US citizens about when you visit, it's safe, use more precautions, you should reconsider your trip, don't go. So when you look at Costa Rica right now, I think it's like a level 2, which is increased caution. So when we vote on them, it's so far in advance, it's hard to know what the status of the country will be at the time of the trip. And so my question is that taken into consideration when the trip is coming up, what the state level precaution level is at the time, and is it, rescheduled or changed because of it?
Yeah, TJ shared how, this partnership with EF really helps with that. They're on top of all things travel and all things abroad. So we're assigned one person from EF who works directly with us and with TJ and with the people who are planning the trip. We only need approval tonight so that they can begin discussing and presenting this to parents and gathering the amount of students who would be going. So things change, like price range for the trip change with the amount of students. So 30 plus paying travelers is between $39 and $4,100. But if you only have 10 to 19 paying travelers, it's $45 to $4,700. So they really like to begin the talk up of the trip so they can gather more students. So that's really what the approval is for. And also just to introduce all of the different parts of this trip to families so that they understand the safety precautions and things like that. They also mentioned that there is coverage and insurance around whether there is something that happens like that. And so EF provides a really great insurance package for things that can happen. TJ mentioned that they had a trip to right over it happened during the pandemic and the whole thing got changed, had to be changed. So because we're partnering with EF Tours, they really provide us with a lot of the information that we need to make sure we don't get hamstrung.
Right, but my question is, I understand all that because that's happened previously with other trips. But with regards specifically, like when we vote on this, we will not vote on it again. So this is our approval of the trip, regardless of how early it is and whether or not the monetary value changes or the student numbers are met or not. This is our approval, and we will not get another vote on this. So my question is, who is responsible then for saying that this trip will not go forward? Because say when the time comes for this trip to go, the state level department might be at a stage 3 where they're saying really reconsider traveling. Who is the one that makes that call?
The school district could, so the superintendent consultation with the principal and others would potentially make that call. That's why we recommend or require insurance, but then EF could also change it too. So that, you know, if the travel company ever felt it wasn't safe, they could send us to a different location. So yeah, we reserve the right and all the documentation to stop any trip that we felt wasn't safe in terms of going.
So are we taking the company, the EF company or whatever, are we taking their recommendations when they say, no, no, it's safe to go, even if we're at a level 2? Or do they bring that, say, to you, Dr. Cook, and say, okay, so we think it's safe to go, but the state level department's at a level 2, and then it's your call?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we would certainly take their recommendation into account because they're bringing high schools there all the time. You know, we wouldn't be the only high school there. So, you know, I think that's a piece. But yeah, if it was recommended that it's not safe to travel to a certain company or certain location, we're not going to send our students there, certainly.
I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah,
because
no, it's a good question.
it is
And
a
they
changing, you never know where the state level, the State Department is going to say that they feel it's safe for Americans to travel to this country or not. And so I just wanted to make sure that there are protocols in place so that regardless of the purchase of the travel insurance, obviously, good idea, but the fact that we have, in the end, we have the right to make certain that our students are safe.
Yeah, and one of the advantages of going with that company, EF, and there are other tour companies that we've approved tours with in the past. They tend to have large numbers of tours throughout the whole world. So if they have to pull a tour from Costa Rica, they could maybe reschedule it to another, and we could, probably have some flexibility to determine whether a similar trip maybe to, again, Bermuda or some other Caribbean or Atlantic destination or something would be appropriate, but we would be in control of that. And we do recommend that the students purchase travel insurance. And I think Maureen had a question.
Yeah, I'm
Lisa?
glad you brought this up, Diana, and I would like us to revisit it and learn a little bit more about the vetting process for the companies that we go with. And you refreshed my memory, Kathy, because my daughter was on one of those trips that was canceled during the pandemic, and parents were not well informed ahead of time, and we thought we had insurance and we didn't, and things did not go very smoothly. So I would love for us to learn more about this and how the companies are vetted and picked, and how the insurance option is presented, because apparently there was an insurance option, but not many parents knew about it, and didn't have it. So I would love for us to get more of a presentation on how these companies are picked to protect the parents, because it is a lot of money. $4,500 for how many days is that? It's probably not very many.
It's a 9-day, it is a bit longer trip.
Oh, it is, okay. And then just even with the insurance, to make sure it's very clear to parents that you're not gonna get all of your money back. How much money are you gonna get back? I also think it'd probably be a good idea to look at and just be very transparent with parents about how much of that money is chaperones and how many chaperones do we pick per trip and why, things like that, because all of those things are worked into it. Because that was a lot of feedback that I got at the time is, hey, I didn't really understand, and I didn't really know, and maybe I wouldn't have, and just so that we could be a little bit more proactive, because I could tell you firsthand experience that did not go very smoothly at all.
TJ did say that they do a 1-to-10 ratio so it depends on how many students end up going. So right now they can't say how many chaperones since they don't know how many students.
Right.
But it's a 1-to-10 ratio. So there's one chaperone, and they choose teachers over anybody else because they have that, management sensibility around what high school students would need as far as, support in school, and so therefore they're basically in school but out of the country.
Yeah.
So it's a 1-to-10 ratio. And they have a list of people who are waiting for opportunities to go on and chaperone these trips. So they have ample, they have a nice deep bench, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, and it was a different ratio at that time,
Yeah.
so maybe that has
Did
something
they
to
use
change.
the F for that trip?
They did not, no.
Okay, so I think just as with everything else, that whole informed decision making that they are so what they do so well. Within the district, but I know that TJ did talk a lot about the Kerma insurance.
Kerma is our liability insurance carrier in Connecticut that covers that as well. I think a lot has changed in school districts since COVID, you know, that.
Has
the
it that problem?
impact, yeah, no,
Like
that
it-
was, I wasn't here at the time, but I was dealing with another district that had trips scheduled that April and February. And, you know, it was very difficult to deal with things. So I think the use and the explanation of trip insurance is much different than it was prior to that point. Yeah.
It's helpful. I just think to be responsible, it would be good for us to know that, because I recall at the time I was not on the board, I was a parent in that situation. And I reached out to board members and they just had no idea what our policy was on selecting people or the insurance or
Yeah.
everything that went around that. So to be responsible in my role, I would like us to know more about that, how that.
I think next time we have a trip come forward, we can notify the whole board that it's coming to the curriculum committee. And the teacher couldn't be here tonight. I know she had another commitment, but when the teacher is part of that presentation too, it's really helpful. So we can go maybe a little deeper into that and let everybody know that we're doing that. And then even if you can't make it, we tape it so we could share it with you. So we can do that, because I know when the teacher's here, a lot of the times we go a bit more detailed. So.
And I would recommend going back and watching the committee meeting
Yes.
because TJ, it seems like he anticipated some of these questions, or he has learned from experience, he and his team. And so he talked a lot about insurance and about their heightened awareness of things like that. So I think, like you said, we've been well informed by COVID, but there's also a bunch of slides about EF. And they're in the packet and on the slides, and so you can see how their presence is worldwide. So wherever you're going, they're not just here in the United States and they're sending you somewhere.
Right.
They're on the other end as well. So there's a lot of, they're 24/7, 365 days a year open and supporting their people when they're on vacation or on these vacation. You see where my head is, when they're on these educational trips. So they do have a really good reputation for, this is their jam. So I would definitely read up on it. They're really.
Yeah, I'll watch the meeting, thank you.
I guess though, correct me if I'm wrong, Kerma's liability insurance, right? And the trip insurance was an additional cost to parents. So I think there is, that was an add-on, and I think your point is well taken, that as long as parents are aware of what their options are and the costs associated with that, is a good.
Yeah, and that's all part of that, and it's all part of the packet.
Lisa had a question.
Catherine, was there any, or you guys, was there any talk of a second or third choice? Or was it Costa Rica right from the start?
It's the only one that they're proposing. They don't usually come with multiple proposals, because I think it's just too hard to present all the different options. I think they think about the options ahead of time.
Yeah, different teachers have different trips, like there'll be a Germany trip, over the summer that happens. And there was a Bermuda trip recently. So like there's different trips that happen throughout the year. It's typically, this is a science teacher bringing students, for kind of a science experience at Costa Rica. She previously has done other trips as well.
Is a little vacation part of it?
So,
I mean, we're gonna
yes,
be at a
definitely. There's
beautiful
definitely some. There was big conversation about zip lining and whitewater rafting, things like that. So it's a mix of
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's on their break, so that.
I was just wondering how they came up with Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think because it provides that whole science piece, it's really more of a science based. So is the Bermuda trip. The Bermuda trip is like a underwater sea,
Like marine biology.
Marine
This
biology.
one's more biodiversity on land
right.
and sea.
What is biodiversity?
It's about the different flora and fauna.
Stuff like that, okay.
So that, and they're going to nature preserves and parks so that they can
Not just
Or-
one, okay.
Yeah.
Different
Last year's
species
trip to
and-
the Galapagos was by a Spanish teacher, and she took her Spanish students, basically, they
That's
spoke
true.
Spanish the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also have a whole biotech kind of leaning into the medical field, and they'll be having opportunities to talk about that as well. So the whole thing is in your packet, and it tells the itinerary for every day. So there's like fun / learning opportunities within the 9-day itinerary. So,
I was just curious, I was looking at like what are the level 2 State Department country look like, and some of the other ones are Vatican City, Belgium, Denmark,
Yeah,
France,
yeah,
Italy,
all of those,
Sweden. So I think, I think it, and for the reasons that those, UK, Netherlands, it was that sort of where it's like you can get pickpocketed in Rome, so that might be.
Or Spain.
Or Spain or anywhere else, that sort of was the reason, the other risk indicators for other countries are like, civil unrest or terrorism or kidnapping, like those are not considerations in Costa Rica nor the other places, so.
It's not?
No,
The-
not Costa Rica, in other countries, in Costa
It's
Rica,
a
it's
lot of-
crime,
It's a very visited place.
yeah.
and that fluctuates, that changes, and that's
Absolutely,
what,
and that's
that's
what
what
we keep
EF does, they take the temperature all the time of what they're connected to the state departments for each country, and so they really make, like, this is their business, is to make sure that they know they're on top of every.
Yeah.
All the change that happens like minute to minute, really, in every country.
And with that insurance, I wonder would we be covered if the district were to decide, maybe it became a higher level that we didn't want our students to go? Is the insurance still covered, or are there certain
So that was,
criteria that have to be met?
so that, interestingly enough, but that was the issue during COVID, because at the beginning, as you can imagine, their business is taking students on trips. So the travel companies were pretty hesitant to say it's okay to cancel a trip. It was the district saying we're canceling the trips. And so it wasn't until after the fact that the money was returned, or in certain ones that was just a credit, other ones money was returned. So it was a very difficult process. I know the governors got involved and things like that. It was not easy. It would depend, I think if we canceled on a level 2 and said we don't feel comfortable, we probably would have a pretty uphill battle based on the fact that we're booking the trip when it's level 2. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it would be a conversation piece, depending on what our reasons were on that. We'd have to have probably a good standard, why we were making that decision.
Is it critical that we vote on this today, or can we take some time to review this a little bit more, especially in light of what Diane had raised?
I don't know what's going to change. They have to, even though it's April of 2027, they have to start actively recruiting students to do it. So we have said they could, pending board approval. But I don't know that I'm gonna have any different information to come back to you with, based on, what Diane's saying or your concerns. Like, I think that is kind of what it is. Families enter into this knowing that, there is some risk involved. They have the opportunity. They're very clear about the different 3 levels of insurance and what Karma covers and things like that. So I will pass that on to TJ that, the board was expressed some concern and want to make sure that that's very clear to families, like what the travel insurance covers.
I would caution, I know we've had a bad experience and some of us have had bad experience, especially and particularly around an unexpected epidemic that really caused a lot of fervor in this industry, right, in the education travel industry. But I would caution us against, yes, we have to apply our common sense, and it's our job to approve these trips. But in light of our long history of approving these trips because we find the educational and social emotional value in them, we have really responsible trip leaders and teachers. We have the principal's approval. We have the superintendent's approval. In light of what we stand to lose if we hyper scrutinize all of these for the God forbid scenarios, I think students will ultimately miss out on real educational opportunities, and real special experiences. So, in my opinion, having a daughter who went on a trip to Spain, and I was a little nervous about this and that and the other. It was a level 2 because you could be pickpocketed in Spain. But they're traveling in a group. They get admonishments from the trip leaders and the tour guides and the chaperones. Okay, keep your purse in front of you. Travel together. Have the adults in the front and the back, and they take precautions. And I think rather than delay this opportunity for students and parents to start to learn about this opportunity and to start to save for it, because it is a bit of a substantial cost, I would recommend, and I plan to vote in favor of approving it so that they can get moving. We always, as a board, if a war breaks out in Central America, and it's right on the border of Costa Rica, we have the ability, sua sponte, as a board, to come back to the table and say, there's a war there now. Let's cancel this trip.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think you've just convinced me, Seth, and I'll probably support it when it comes time to vote on it. I would just ask that the district really explain the insurance piece to the parents very well, because it is fine print, it's very small. And I think that, because I also had a daughter go to Italy, and it was a very successful, wonderful experience, but, and I read those details, and I have not seen the details of this contract, but parents will assume, oh, I have insurance, everything's covered. Well, they're gonna still lose a significant chunk of what they paid in most cases with these companies, based on my experience. So I just would want us to explain that, not just make it the fine print. If it's a box they have to check, I would much rather people opt out of insurance than opt into it, because they might miss that box and think they have it and they don't. And that's what happened on one of the trips my kids were my daughter was involved in. So if we could just, to protect our families, because it is a ton of money for them.
Right, but Maureen, I'm sure they have meetings, and it's up to a parent also to raise their hand. I mean, we've all gone on trips, and I always get the insurance.
Oh, yeah, no, I
So
understand
isn't it
that,
more-
but having been in that
parent.
situation, and I spoke to a lot of parents, I'm just asking that when that meeting happens, that's highlighted so that parents don't miss that fine print.
That's a good point. I absolutely agree. I will say that there's a whole separate slide.
Yeah.
For EF, they
Yeah.
have 3 separate
It's-
insurance levels.
Yeah.
So you can really dig down deep and determine, I'm willing to lose up to $190.
Okay,
I'm willing to lose up to whatever.
It's all laid out
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
statements.
thank you.
Yeah, I would
That's a
definitely
good point.
take the time to look. I'd also go to their website, and read reviews, and, they have a really good reputation, and it's all laid out in slides.
And you're also comfortable, I gather, Craig, that if we were to decide as a board that they're not gonna be able to go based on what's going on at that time, that they will be covered under their insurance. You're confident, okay, thank you.
Okay, unless there's any other questions, thank you. That was excellent first report. Thank you again. All right, Facilities Committee, Emily.
No report. We have not met since our last meeting.
Okay, you. Finance Committee, Galen.
Thank you, Seth. We met tonight at 6 o'clock. Emily, Jessica, and I were in attendance. Presided at the ex officio. Craig and our Director of Finance, Stacy Nobitz, were there. We have good news, so we have some bad news. The good news is that we closed out 2024-25 with a surplus of $382,000. As Craig noted, that's about 0.5% of our budget. So Stacy always does a great job. We also passed the audit. The committee, after some consideration, recommended that we allocate that money to the baseball field at hand. And maybe we can do some motion for that side at this meeting. The not so good news was looking forward for the 2026-27 budget.
it looks as if insurance costs have gone up quite dramatically. Insurance itself up 8.4%, claims up about 22%. This would represent about a budget increase of 3% in its own right, I think. The administration is looking very hard at reducing that, including the possibility of utilizing about $1 million from a reserve fund that we have for that purpose. We're trying to preserve core missions. Other things discussed were energy, which is looking all right now. Special ed is in pretty good shape. Those tend to be the wild cards for the budget. In addition, well, Craig, you mentioned that we're looking at a January 6th date to distribute the budget book. So I kind of rushed through it, but those are the highlights.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Galen. Personnel Committee, Maureen.
The Personnel Committee has not met. Okay.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Diane.
We have not met, but you will see in your packet that we have a policy for review first read, and that's policy 5110.4 student discipline. And then we have policies for review that are action items tonight if we choose to waive the second reading. And that would be policy 1370 non-discrimination, 4116.1 sex discrimination and sexual harassment, 4118.1 non-discrimination, that's in the 4000 series personnel, 5020.1 non-discrimination, that's in the student series, and then 5120.3.3 administering medications, and lastly 5120.5 prohibition of sex discrimination and sexual harassment. When the policy committee met regarding the policies that we recommend for waiving the second reading, these were all changes that we had to make in order to be compliant with state statute and federal law changes. And so there are not that many changes to them. And you'll notice that you see non-discrimination 3 times because it's in 3 different series and all the changes are the same. And so because the changes are so minimal and that they're all required by federal or state law, we recommend that we waive the second read and have them as action items tonight. End of report.
Any questions for Diane? Seeing none. Thank you, Diane. And finally, our learn liaison, Galen.
Thank you. I think I'm attending my first meeting in a couple days. Thursday.
Always on.
It's on the calendar, right?
All right. So now we've reached the part of the agenda that I know Mary Ann will be very excited about. Agenda item number 10. This is in response to a request by Mary Ann to have this be on our agenda as a future agenda item. We are going to discuss cell phones and cell phone use in the district. And I want to kick it off with Dr. Cook, who will kind of set the stage by letting us know what our policy is now, what our regulations are now, kind of give us the lay of the land, and then we can hold our discussion. This is a discussion only. It's not on the agenda for a vote, but it's the beginning of our discussion on cell phones at public meetings like this.
Yes, so as Seth shared, this was on as a board discussion item. Just wanted to review our current administrative regulation. We provided that to you all, for our district as of right now. And this was adopted. Or administrative regs are issued by the superintendent, but they're worked through the policy committee and or make sure the board makes sure they're in alignment with board policy, and it's attached to a board policy. So pre-K to 5, as you know, phones are discouraged from coming into school or on buses or anything like that. We work very closely with families. If any are watching, this is the time of the year where sometimes a third grader may get a Apple Watch for Christmas. If you choose to give your child an Apple Watch in 2nd or 3rd grade, we ask that you keep them home. But that is something that happens. But we do work with families on that, and there are situations where a student may keep it in their backpack or on them for the day, but not typically an issue. Middle school, we've had really great compliance at the middle school with the new administrative regulation when we brought this in last school year. And so phones are on silent and in the lockers at the start of the day, out of sight for the entire day. They're not utilized during the academic day. One example where they might be used with principal approval is a sports team's game gets canceled or changed. And so sports team gets called down to the main office. I've witnessed this firsthand. Many will use the phones in the office. Others have asked to go to their locker and text mom or dad to let them know that there's a change in schedule rather than make a phone call, because we all know kids don't like making phone calls anymore. And so that is how that's handled at the middle school. At the high school, we have a bell-to-bell policy of no use during the classroom periods. So during our 6 academic classroom periods, phones are away. They're not utilized. Students are able to use them during passing time, at the beginning of the day, at lunch, at a study hall time, and then after school. And we've had really strong compliance. We talk to students all the time. Not saying there's not ever an issue or students don't have to be reminded or even disciplined from time to time at any of the middle school, high school level. That does happen. I will say it's significantly down from what we saw a few years ago. But we do work with students on that, do constant reminders, and teachers are supportive of that. That is the current policy and practice in the district.
Is that a policy, or that's just each individual school has their own?
It's an administrative reg. So yes, so that is the administrative reg that's been issued by the superintendent, and we communicate that to families and students.
But not like a policy.
Yeah. Well, it acts just like a policy in terms of that. The difference between administrative reg is the superintendent issues that, but it has to be in conjunction with a policy. So I can't just issue an administrative reg without your, you don't vote on it, but you could say, Craig, you need to go back and make these changes or something like that. So that's a discussion that goes through the policy committee. When we adopted the new policy, this was the administrative reg.
And there is a policy framework for technology that does assign or delegate to the superintendent the ability to regulate on areas of policy, on areas of technology use that we haven't directly addressed. All right, so thank you, Craig. I want to open the floor to discussion on cell phone use in the schools. Any takers? There he is.
Well, you know that I'm in favor, so I'm in favor of a policy of no cell phones in school from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. I know firsthand people that have gotten in trouble just recently for having their cell phones in the high school. I think that all the studies that we have seen, that we've all read about, we've sent around, state that our children are way happier during a school day without having it's more that they know it's there. They can go to the bathroom if they have it in their pocket. It's just a distraction. And I think that we don't need our kids distracted any more than they are. And I believe that we could have a bell to bell from kindergarten to 12th grade. They don't even in the class, in the cafeterias, they've proved it. They've shown that the students talk to each other, there's more interaction, it's more engaging, the kids are happier. They have even admitted that they are. So I mean, that's what I'm in favor of. Total no cell phone. I know that the kids they're afraid to use the telephone. That's something they're gonna have to learn if they have to call their parent, tell them something.
Jessica.
I do. For me, I really struggle to see any benefit of having them have cell phones on them, with the very rare exception of kids who might need, to monitor their insulin or something like that. But I mean, other than that, I think I agree that the data is pretty convincing in terms of mental health, it being a distraction from the academic environment. I think it introduces risk when it comes to academic integrity. And it's a liability during God forbid, a school safety incident. So for me, I really struggle to see what the benefit is other than convenience. I mean, and I agree with Marianne, I think it's an important skill, even if it's not desired to be able to pick up the phone and make a phone call. I just struggle to see what it adds to the academic environment.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna comment, I agree with everything that has been said, and I know in the past concerns have been around safety during emergencies, and I think, we've heard from other districts that kids without cell phones are more receptive and paying attention, and, to just remind us, it was just in October that the school safety organization, like the school resource officer, the national organization, fully supports bell-to-bell cell phone bans, knowing that it is better for student safety if kids do not have cell phones with them. So I think, we've heard that concern from folks, and I recognize that, but I think the evidence is very clear that that is not a reason that kids need cell phones. So I just wanted to remind folks of that who are maybe newer to the board. We got that information.
Go ahead.
I would prefer if during the school day and in the cafeteria, students didn't have their cell phones out and they were engaging and all of that. But I also think as the students get older in high school and the upper grades, that we have a duty to teach them how to be responsible with their phone. So I think how we get there is what I'd like to see us discuss. I don't think taking their phones from them and locking them up is going to do them a service in the long run. So how can we better teach them to use their phones responsibly, just like we do in a meeting? Not everybody's, just give me a second, please, to finish, so that, we can have our phones responsibly without missing out on the interaction that you should have during a meeting or during a class or during lunch and things like that. But I think we should give our kids more credit, especially at the high school, at the high school grade, and not take their phones and lock them up and keep them away from them all day.
But do you think it's a teacher's responsibility to teach the child?
I do, but I'm just saying that's the
Don't they have
discussion that I see us having, is how are we going to make that work so that it isn't the teachers constantly policing and.
Well, that's what I mean. It's not their responsibility. They need all that time to be able to teach our students. They don't need to teach them the responsibility. It's either the parents' responsibility or we can help the parents, right? Just saying no phones during the day. And I'm sure that, when you're 16 years old, after school, you can use your phone.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting the teachers, that's what their job is, to police the
Yeah.
telephone all day. We need to come up with a way, and that's something I feel like our superintendent and our assistant superintendent are extremely skilled at, is researching it and giving us a presentation about how can we do that, because they're the experts in educating our students, especially at the high school level. So I would love to hear, give the time and the consideration to our superintendent and our assistant superintendent to really give us a strong recommendation based on their area of expertise, and also with their staff and also our high school students, because I know we did hear from a couple of students that were in favor of not having them. But I've also heard from students that feel they should be responsible and being treated like kindergartners, that they're taken away from them and locked up all day. So I really would push to them and trust their recommendation, their thoughtful analysis, and give it time to really do it. Because if we take our time, then we can really be behind it and be very proud of it. And I think one of the things Madison has done so beautifully that sets us apart from other districts is that we are proactive and we do think of all the details and we look at it thoroughly. And they may end up doing that, and then I'm all in favor of, let's lock them up all day, let's pay for the pouches or whatever it is. But it'd be a lot easier to, I think, and more responsible to take our time and be really thorough and really thoughtful and talk to our experts, because we know we have the best of the best. We hire them, and get their recommendations on how do we solve this problem? Because we can be leaders in this.
So how do
And
you-
what you're suggesting may end up being the answer at the end of the day, but it may not. There may be something in between.
Kathy?
So, I'm in favor of no cell phones in school. I love the 6-8 model, the no phones out, silenced in backpacks, and they are not part of their school day. I feel like that should be the 6-12 model. I know when we had that presentation from the young man who was, this was last year. The gentleman who came in, the young man who came in and spoke, he wrote his thesis on how cell phones have stolen his childhood and how he can't get that time back, he can't get those moments back. And he just feels kind of gypped because that time was taken away by cell phone usage. It brought me to tears. I know others were very emotional about what he had to say, and I feel like it just moved me. And I just really also feel like, you know, having your cell phone in class, not having your cell phone in class, well, that's great, but you know, it's the time in between that is so meaningful and is memory making. And I think that I also think I'm not a fan of the whole lock up with the pouches and whatnot. I feel like our students are smarter than that, and they are. I mean, you used the word great compliance has been used throughout all of the class, all of the from teachers and from parents and kids, and don't bring your new Apple Watch to school. And it people are compliant, and I think our kids are as well. And I think we should trust them. And spending money on a pouch to lock it up, it just sends a message. You can't be trusted, and I don't believe that. I don't think that of our students, and so I think a no phones out, silenced and in your backpack, and it doesn't come out all day, is a gift we can give to our kids.
Before we get back to second comments from people, is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet who wants to add something? Diane?
So I'm not opposed to the idea of removing the cell phones bell to bell, but I would like to comment that previously when we've discussed this, Dr. Cook has made a preference for the yonder pouches, and I don't know if he would like to weigh in as to why versus, you know, putting them in the lockers. And if we implemented such a plan or policy where we did not want the students accessing their phones all day, and they did put them in their lockers at the high school level, as we all know, none of the high school students use their lockers right now. Is this going to become like an insurance liability issue? I'm just kind of looking at the other aspects of it. And then thirdly, in case no one was counting, we have 4 people who want no phones throughout the whole school day. With a board of 9, if this comes to a vote, you only need 1 more vote to carry it. So just think about that. And then think about the fact that if we do want to implement this in the next school year, and it is something that would need a line item in the budget, then it needs to be acted on pretty quickly in order to get into that budget.
Greg, did you want to answer the?
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to go last or.
Well,
now,
if you
or-
wanted to answer the specific question about yonder pouches and your opinion on those.
Well, I don't know if I can address that without talking about the whole thing, so that
You can
maybe I can expand.
Sure.
If I can just expand it a little bit, I will say though, any solution we have, the teacher is part of the equation. So, to say that we would remove it off the teacher's plate by having lockers locked up or yonder pouches, things like that, that's never the case because the teacher's always part of the equation. We have a policy of no hats in the high school, so teachers have to tell kids put your hat away, put your hat away. Cell phones are much different, you know, than hats, but that's just a analogy I would say is that even with districts that have yonder pouches, students will put in a fake phone in that and then have their regular phone or have two phones, and teachers have to address that. So that is a piece that, we have to just be aware of that, whatever path we go down, that teachers could be unhappy, or some teachers could be unhappy. I will just say, I don't know what the right answer is. I really don't. So much of me thinks we got to get kids ready for the step after high school. Can we teach them responsible use? Can we allow them to have the phone like the current policy does? I think about if we were trying to address childhood obesity and we serve healthy food, in the cafeteria, but then a kid goes home and eats cake all night.
Yeah.
That's what are we doing? We serve 5 meals a day or 5 meals a week. They serve, they eat 21 meals, total. So is this going to lead to more cell phone use outside of school? I worry about that. So I feel like we need to have the whole community with us. Like, we are just fighting an uphill battle if we just deal with our 7 hours a day. And I know that's, what our responsibility is. We have our 7 hours, and we only can do so much outside of that. But I think we need to, get the whole community behind us if we're going to do this and
You've
go
gone
down
to
this
the
path.
meetings, you've gone to some of the meetings, right, for the.
Yeah, I've got lots of information and things like that. But then I talked to the leadership group, and I know this is students with higher than average GPAs. And so when I talk to them, they say, don't take the cell phones away. We wouldn't be able to pass our classes if we were distracted, things like that. But that is our leadership group.
That's a small group, but we're talking about a large community of students, of children who we are responsible for during the school day. I understand what you're saying about eating more after school and, using your cell phone, but that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is taking care of the kids during the day while they're with us or with their teachers. And if we can make them happier, and if they have shown studies that show that the kids are happier and more mentally aware and more connected, would we want to do that during that school day if we could be responsible for that?
But I just want to have the most impact as possible. If we can make them happier and prepared for life when they do have that phone available to them, I think that's our best. And I think we have a community that largely would support this work. That's my wonder is, are we at the point where we should get some survey data that are we not arming you, as Maureen said, with enough information to make this decision? Does it make sense to survey students, parents, and staff and say, what are your thoughts on this? Like, I know, I followed a lot of districts. Our neighbors to the west last night voted to do the ban. So Guilford has gone. They will do it in September. But they have gone to the bell to bell. Everybody says it different, but full school day. Phone
And
is
how are they doing that?
They just voted last night as a board, and then they directed the administration to kind of put that in place. So they're going to go through that process. No pouches.
But Branford did the pouches.
Branford did the pouches. Yes. Yeah.
So, I want Jessica, then
Yep.
Emily, and then Gary, do you have anything to add?
A couple things. I think, first of all, I think there's kind of a two-step decision here, which is, first of all, are we banning cell phones? And then the second part is, how are we going to do that? Is it with pouches or is it in lockers? So, I think that there's two questions here. Sorry, I was like writing my notes and now of course it's like gone from my head. I think it's fundamental human behavior that people don't want things taken away from them. So, we can do a survey, but I am certain that the students will say that they're not in support of this, right? Because people don't like it when things are taken away from them. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. And I think I would just kind of circle back to the question of, what benefit do they provide? So what are our high school students currently getting out of having their phones on them? And is that valid, right? Is it I get to check Instagram regularly. Like, I think we as a board can say, is that a valid reason? Is it helping their education in any way? Is it helping them learn? I think the answer is a pretty clear no.
Maureen, then Maureen, did either Lisa or Aileen want to Yeah, go
That
ahead.
Diane's raising her hand online.
Oh, Diane too. All right, so let's go Emily, Maureen, Diane, and then if you guys want.
A couple, so I agree that we shouldn't decide no phones effective January first. Like, I do think we don't need to rush this decision to prepare, you know, if we go ahead with this, to prepare the community and the students. I also agree, I don't see it as punitive. I don't see it as taking phones away from kids. I don't see it as punishing kids. We know our kids are good and compliant students. I think it's giving them a gift of having 7 hours at school to be students. They get to go home and do what they do. And I agree also, Craig, with the whole picture. It's a lot more than just school. For that reason, I think what we do with middle school works. And I like just continuing. I also think this isn't new. Like, there's a multitude of schools, communities across the state, across the country that have done this. So fortunately for us, we're not leading the pack in that we can learn from other schools' mistakes, what has worked, hasn't worked. I mean, other districts have done this and they've been successful, and we can learn from what they've done. There's a wealth of information out there. I love the idea of a survey. I do think that the kids, like the current middle school kids, this is the world they know. Phones away over the whole school day. The current elementary school kids, this is the world they know. So I do think if we implemented this next school year, we'd have, you know, 1 or 2 maybe classes that this was felt bad about. But the current freshmen just came from Polson where the phones were away. So I think it would be like there maybe be some uncomfortable feelings a little bit, maybe, but I also think, like you said, our kids are good kids and they're resilient and they come around, and of course no one wants anything taken away from them, but I think we're giving them a lot more than what we're taking them away. And also, I forget if the student here, someone else had said, or I read somewhere, like not having their phones during the school day, kids aren't worried about being videotaped during the school day or pictures being taken of them when they weren't aware, like the social stuff that they experience in the hallway. So I think we'd be giving a lot more than we'd be taking away. Yeah. And I think that's it for me.
I just kind of wanted to clarify, it sounds like I know it's coming across like I feel strongly in one direction, and I really don't. What I feel strongly about is hitting the pause button so that we can be proactive and do our work, and I hear and agree with what everybody has said. And you know, Jessica, you had said, oh, we're gonna survey the students and they're all gonna say, no, don't take it away. We don't know that. Like, we can guess that. We're a board of 9 and we're all sharing our opinions, our hunches, our intuition. We don't really know because we haven't done it. So let's ask them. And just because they all come back and say one thing that we did or didn't expect, doesn't mean that that's the answer to our problem. We have to look at all of it. We have to look at what the faculty says and what our administrators say, but let's take the time, because it's, once you do it, it's hard to undo it. So we could test it. We could just be very, very thoughtful. That's what I'm asking. Let's hit the pause button. Let's be very thoughtful. I did, you know, you raised a point, Dr. Cook, that I thought about a lot, and that's the binge watching. And we really are doing a disservice to them if we restrict them so much that now they go home and they don't engage with their sports teams and the things that they're supposed to be doing because now they're binging on their phones. You know, so we have a responsibility to like look at that too and kind of balance things. I also think it would be great as part of our thoughtful review as we make a final decision, that we talk to college students too. Because I know when I surveyed, and again, we all like, well, one kid said this, one kid said that. It's one. We have a lot of kids to ask, but I can tell you, my one kid who's a recent college graduate thought that would be terrible. She's like, kids need to learn in high school how to use their phones during the day. I can't tell you how many times our professor in college would say, okay, everybody pull out your phone, look up this, do this. She said, you have to use them. And to her point is like, I wouldn't have graduated if I misused my phone in college. Like, I needed to learn that skill. And she learned it at Daniel Hant. She felt very prepared, having gone to Daniel Hannon and then going to college and being able to thoughtfully use her phone during the day. So that's.
Did somebody teach her that? Was there a class on that?
Well, I don't think there was a class, which is something we could do.
We
Like,
had a
that's great.
technology policy that went from leave it at home to bring it, and for a while, we were incorporating phones actively into
Instruction, yeah, that was
Instruction.
used more, because Chromebooks weren't as
Yeah, now
powerful,
we know
or
the
they're,
phones.
yeah, but they've
don't
got,
need one.
they've got better.
I don't need
Yeah.
So
just what you say.
whenever you're done.
Kids are responsible when we trust them, to Kathy's point. And, there's all this talk about like, oh, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. Let's hear from the teachers. Is that what is actually happening, or is that just our hunches and our opinions and our intuition? Because I can tell you from my hand graduate, she told me when teachers didn't put away their phone, they did it.
Yeah.
They did.
But Maureen, there are studies out that show that the kids are definitely happier and more mentally prepared and more.
I'd like to get
Awesome.
Diane on the record, and then also if Lisa or Galen have something to say, I'd like to hear them as well.
So I think it would be really helpful if we had information from the administrators and the teachers' point of view, their feeling on it, because like Dr. Cook said, it is going to become the teacher's responsibility in a way, in the same way that they say take off your hats. I mean, even now, if a student has a phone out during class, they're going to tell them put your phone away. And I don't know how often that happens, but certainly that's something then that the teacher in that classroom is going to have to monitor. So I would want to know what the teachers think about if we change the policy, what the administrators think. And I don't know how much it would cost to do a survey, or if we just do Survey Monkey or what. But I would want to know what the parents want for their children. Because we're a board of 9 and we represent our town. And so it's not really what do the students want, it's what the parents want as well. So I would want to know, what does our community think about this? What is their feeling about what they want to provide for their child in their school district?
Thank you, Lisa.
I just wanted to almost echo Kathy's opinion. Cell phones away, bell to bell, and I wouldn't spend a dime on pouches. And I also think that kids would really feel bad about not only did they get their phones taken away, but then they had to put it in a pouch. I think that creates ill will. But I agree with Diane. We better get the parents involved. This could get very emotional.
Well, we've had a
But
lot.
unfortunately, from personal experience, I think cell phones in schools are extremely dangerous. Because it's not only the calls going out, it's calls coming in, or text, personal text coming in and so forth. So I just wanted to give my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I largely agree with Kathy and Emily. I think it's easier to phase in. We'll have to phase it in regardless. I think it's easier because of the middle school right now. I think put it in a backpack and forgetting about them out of sight, out of mind is probably the most practical alternative. And I also think that you have to look at it within the larger context of reducing screen time.
Yeah.
I think kids are technologically adept. They can learn how to use a cell phone outside of school.
So
I have one more thing to
go
say.
ahead, sure.
I think words really matter, and what we call this matters a lot. So banning cell phones, I don't like the word ban just in general. As a literacy person, it just scares me in general. So I don't love the word banning cell phones. I would love to see it just be called something that is a little softer than that, or just a policy or something like
See
that.
things, terms like away all day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Something
Yeah.
much more appropriate and that matches our students' sensibility. Yeah.
And I don't think I answered Diane's question. I don't feel learning more about everything that the administration would recommend yonder pouches in the board. I think we would recommend lockers, away.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd recommend yonder pouches if that's the direction.
So we talked about that with the lockers, but you said that there's no locks on the lockers, and so the liability for.
No, they don't use, the high school kids don't use lockers,
They-
really. Yeah, that's
But they
what,
have lockers.
they do have lockers, yeah,
And they
there's not
lock.
lockers, yeah.
So they, I mean,
They could use
they
that,
could use, I
if
mean,
they
that's,
feel-
that would be like the cheapest and the
Yeah.
easiest way.
Yeah.
To do this.
Or the backpack, right?
yeah, the back.
Well, the backpack vibrates, it's still
gotta be
there.
No, it has to be off.
Oh,
It's
I
the
think-
cell phones off, silenced and off.
I think also it would be a culture shift.
Mhm.
I think now in the cafeteria, it's not unusual to see tables full of, I think, more boys playing video games on their
Mhm.
phones. And I think if it was then not expected, not the norm, it also would lead to a gradual culture change where if there is that one kid who grabbed their phone out of their backpack or whatever, it would be unusual.
Mhm.
So I think, again, that's, positive progression.
So, oh, yeah, I just, sorry, what's the latest feasible date we could notify the teachers to base this in? I mean, obviously Guilford did it quickly, if we were looking at, how much lead time do you need before next September?
For September, I mean, I would want to know more, but well in advance of that, but I think honestly, June, like early June, like for September, but my preference would be, March for us to start messaging this. And I would think if we're doing a survey, it would be pretty simple, straightforward survey. I could give you my predictions on how it would turn out. I think you've all talked about that already, but I think that it is a way to engage the community in that discussion. I don't think we would survey our seniors. I think we'd look at students 9 through 11. I think we'd look at parents district wide, and then staff 9 through 12.
We can get at least anecdotal data from Guilford.
Right.
Right now.
Yeah, they did a survey. We looked at that they asked, I think, questions that maybe were in a different context. So I don't really know why it was not very straightforward, but I think it had purposeful pieces maybe for their community discussion.
But like you could get, hear from, the
Yes.
superintendent and their teachers, how it's going.
and Bradford also, but they use the pouches.
Branford uses the
Yeah,
pouches.
did they do a survey also? Or-
I don't know about the Branford survey.
Just gonna thank Maureen, then I'd like to, and then Diane, and then I'd like to say something.
Just wanted to say, I'm happy to move forward with the survey. If we move forward with the phone-free school, not the ban. I think another key component of this will be like parent and student education. So for example, I think as we've talked about, the research is really clear in the case of school safety incidents. I think that tends to be the biggest argument in favor of kids having phones. So I think it's incumbent on us to do some education to parents that in fact phones make those types of incidents less safe. And so I think that there's an opportunity for us to make sure we're messaging this well.
And we have partners in the community who we know would be ready and willing to step up and help with that education with Madison Youth Unplugged and others.
And we've had multiple board meetings where the room was full and pretty much everybody in the room was, we want the cell phones gone.
Right.
And
then
so
there's that one
it was like wave after wave.
scientific.
And the one argument.
Right.
was that was
It's a motivating group.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a motivating group. I don't see that as scientific, that's motivating
No.
parents, but anyway, Maureen and then Diane, and then I'd like to have this off.
I liked what you said about parent education, no matter what we do and doing those kind of things. But I also just wanted to, just for clarification, to ask you, Dr. Cook, what is your recommendation at this point? Are you, like, on everything give us your honest feedback, don't worry about offending anybody, including me, but are you recommending that we hit the pause button and we survey and take time, or you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No, I think it's a fair question. I will say, like I said before, I don't know the right answer. I really struggle with this topic because I have 3 kids myself, and they're on their phones more than I would like them to be, and miss out on some things that in my childhood wasn't a problem, and so I think that's a piece that I think about. I just am so impressed with how our students have responded to what we put in place. I think the middle school has just been phenomenal. I think our high school students have largely been in compliance. And what they talked to me to answer Jessica's question, and I think there was ways around all of this for us to support them in this. But I asked them the question, like, what do you use your phone for? There's everything from video games to checking sports scores to fantasy football to all those things. But they do use it for AI. So our Chromebooks are pretty restrictive, so they use it for artificial intelligence from time to time, checking college apps. I think they love to be able to, like, at lunch when they have a quick moment to check, what's going on with that piece. Again, that's it's a confined area of time, and maybe there's a way we can, allow for ways around that. Communicating with home, I think that's a piece I hear is that and that's where I think the community piece comes in. I think we have parents very used to being able to text my child and say, pick up your sister after school, or do this or do that, or I'm picking you up, or take the bus home, like that. That's a shift. Now we have secretaries in every office that are able to take phone calls and pass messages to students. So I want to be clear on that. And I think that piece about that security is very important. Like I always worry, we have kind of 1-2 rows into the high school. And so if I have 750 kids calling out to mom and dad to come pick us up, or there's something going on and we have, 7 or 1,500 cars trying to get in there, that's a safety concern or issue. So I think, in a lot of ways we want the adults in charge of that. So so as you can tell, I'm all over the board. I see pluses and minuses of both things. I worry that, if it's away for those 7 hours, what happens the other hours? And then the kid goes off to college and they're not trained to say, okay, I got to really focus in class. Now I have my phone with me, I'm going to be checking, but
They do that now anyway.
So you feel like what we're doing
Here at our
Yeah.
meetings say that.
I feel like our kids have been largely compliant. Like I really feel like our high school kids have stepped up, and but I'm relieved to hear that the board's thinking about September and not next month. So that's encouraging, and I've talked to superintendents who've gone down this path, and they're pretty positive about it. So but I'd love to walk through the bridge and see them on playing board games versus. Yeah, I'd love to see that, but I think that there's some other pieces to it as well.
One thing you mentioned about 1,500 cars pulling up because their kids called them. There's going to be 2,100 cars pulling up if there's an emergency at the high school, God forbid, and the parents don't know what's going on. They will make it there regardless. So,
We'll know.
and there's evidence of that as well. So, Diane.
So I just wanted to say 3 things. So one, I didn't get an answer about insurance liability if the kids are keeping the phones in their lockers at the high school. Is that going to change anything?
In terms of what? In terms of theft?
Yeah. Theft, or I don't know, water damage, fire. I mean, could be anything, right? If we're forcing them to keep their phone locked in their locker and something damages their phone,
I don't
maybe
see any more liability for us. We're not forcing them to bring a $1,000 device and put it into their locker. So they have the option to leave it at home. Just like, we have some pretty
Okay.
expensive cars in the parking lot at the high school. If something happens to the car, it's not the district's liability. I think one good thing recently is that there's not the phone thefts of there used to be. Like I think, now with the technology being the way it is, I'll see phones out, pretty like left unattended, at the high school and stuff. So I don't think there's that concern really.
And then my second question would be, are we looking then for a policy change or just administrative regulation changes if we
I
do
would look
this?
for a policy change. I think it's a board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then would you consider it to be a good idea to maybe do some more trials at the high school, like where you have days, I know you've done them already, or TJ has done it already, where they were cell phone free, or like have the lunches be cell phone free, or the study halls, or to sort of, either gauge how they'll do or sort of ease them into it if this is the way that we're going to go.
Yeah, our student leadership team has done some really nice work in that area, and I think that would continue throughout the year.
A/B testing.
Yeah.
So, at some point we have to wrap this up, and this is an initial discussion. It's been awesome, and I expect to have more spirited debate and, you know, additional discussion about this as we move forward. My personal feelings, which I have made very well known in the past, are that my personal preference is that I feel that we've done a lot of work on social emotional learning, on the coattails of that, and as we're launching the initiative on responsible use of technology in education, we may be in a unique situation where we can extend a bit of trust to our students, and we can adopt a policy that allows us to prepare our students for the 21st century. Since the 20th century, we've been talking, since deep into the 20th century, we've been talking about 21st century skills for our students. And now suddenly there's a book, and it was a very well-written book. It's got a lot of science behind it. And it, I'm not a science denier. I understand the implications of social media in particular, more so than actual, the phones themselves, which are tools. But at the same time, I feel, as a longtime board member who's been committed to 21st century skills and education, that we have a duty, as part of our profile of a graduate, to educate our students holistically, including to prepare them for college or for work in the hereafter high school. And so my inclination has been that I think we have the wherewithal, I think we have the ability, and also, to answer some of the other questions, some parents don't have the wherewithal to teach their kids proper phone use. I couldn't teach my kids calculus, right? And I expect there are some parents who maybe don't feel equipped or don't feel capable of properly educating their kids as to proper proactive uses and acceptable uses and good digital citizenship and all of those aspects. Just like a lot of parents aren't going to be able to prepare their kids for the AI world. And we've adopted a curriculum model for AI now. We're accepting that. You could argue we don't have to teach them AI, right? Well, it's the same thing with other technologies. And my daughter is in college now. Every single class, every single day, she is on her mobile phone and on her laptop. We have a duty, if we accept that it's our responsibility to prepare our kids for their futures in the work world and in college. We also have a responsibility then to give them the wherewithal to succeed there. And we can actually, while all these other districts are running and sticking their heads in the sand about phones, we have the ability to make our kids stand out even further and to have them excel in the workplace and college even better by being head and shoulders above other kids, because we have regulated mobile phone use at the high school level in our district. And all that said, I greatly appreciate the enthusiasm and the fears and the concerns of many parents in the community, including the parents who participate in Madison Youth Unplugged. I love the fact that they have been responsibly, in most cases, trying to impart information on us. That it's important for us to hear that information as a board. And it's important for us to weigh and consider whether that's a motivated minority group in town or whether that's the whole picture. And, from what I can see, while there are certainly high school parents involved. A lot of the parents involved in this movement are parents of younger kids, and it's understandable because they have more at risk right now because their kids are younger, and the God forbid scenarios about their kids getting cyberbullied, about pictures, about all of the psychosocial, emotional anxiety stuff. It is much more pronounced the younger the kids are, and especially in middle school. We've already addressed that, and we have a bell-to-bell ban in up through middle school. And so, I think I can count. Diane's right, I can count. I understand we have a newly constituted board. And I know that my personal feelings at this moment do not appear to be in the majority on our board. So I can see where this is going most likely, but I feel like we have a firm responsibility to check in with the whole community, not just the motivated folks who have made this one of their primary concerns for their children. We have a lot of parents of high school kids, for example, who may feel very differently than the middle school set and the elementary school set. And I think a lot of the parents who currently have elementary and middle school kids and are expressing these concerns vehemently may change their mind by the time their kids are in high school and they need their kids to have access for whatever reasons. I'm undergoing a personal revision of thought. I am absolutely open-minded to a complete ban or, instructional time, bell to bell, school free, phone free school day. I truly am, but I just want to see us put the work into it to pull the whole spectrum of our community, not just a vocal, group or two that are understandably concerned, that have every reason to be concerned. And a lot of the concerns that they're expressing are very valid, but we need to go beyond that and see what the other concerns of the whole community are, I think, as a board. And we also owe it to an administration and school officials who have been rock solid, amazing, in every way, superstars, to trust them a little bit and to maybe try and understand their perspective on it, try and understand our students' perspective on it, but the whole student body, not just the few who we've heard from at meetings. And so I agree with Maureen. I think, we need to take this a bit more slowly and do our homework, right? And put in the rigor behind making such a major decision. And then if the decision comes out the way it's likely to come out, that's fine with me. This isn't about Seth getting his way. This is about a board responding to the community. So I'm willing to put my personal feelings aside, having expressed them. But I do feel we owe it to the whole community to make a community-wide decision, and even wider than it's been so far. And that's where I kind of feel we should go as a board.
I just want to say one thing, Seth.
Sure.
But we are talking about a phone. We're talking about a phone. We're not talking about a book or teaching. We're talking about, it's almost like a toy. It's like, to me, it's nothing. I know you say that they use it. What do they use it for? What are they using it
Studying,
for?
communicating with
Not
lab
during
partners.
No, you talk to your lab partner. How
I know,
about
in college, they're communicating on the
know, we're
laptop
talking
and on the
about-
phones.
Right, but that's a whole different,
They do
that's a
studying on
private
phones.
place, a private school, every college has their own way of doing things. I'm talking about little kids who are under our, we're watching over them. And what do they need their phone? Did we have phones? I know I'm an old lady, but do they need a phone in school? It's really based on a need. Do they really need it? If we could find out the real need.
It's based on a need. Do we really need to prepare them for their future?
No, I'm talking about preparing them for their future is our job, and our teachers are doing that with our beautiful curriculum and everything else that our teachers do. But to teach them how to use a phone in school is just, it's like bizarre to me,
Teach them how to not use it improperly is
or
more the
how to
point.
not use it.
Marion, you said little kids, we're talking about the high school kids.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about all the kids. On that note, let me take out my yonder patch.
There you
Be
I
careful.
think, Seth, I think
You're gonna lose your way. Yeah,
Yeah.
listen, I do wanna thank you all. This has been an engaging and thought-provoking discussion. It really shows the breadth and the thoughtfulness that that our community brings to this. I just kind of feel this is the first opportunity we've discussed it publicly. There will be other opportunities, and I think, if we can rely on the administration and maybe some of our help and whatever to kind of poll, survey, have community, meetings to take this further and to understand the community, what they want, and get to where we need to get with this. So thank you all very much.
Seth, I
Yes.
think that you brought up a good point that if we're going to do a survey, that perhaps we could include on it, if the parent is answering the survey, also include if they have kids and what grades they're in, because I think that's useful information because it definitely frames their reference point.
Jessica.
Fine doing that, I just, your interpretation is one interpretation that younger parents, may change their mind when they get older. Another hypothesis is that parents of younger kids tend to be these elder millennials who I think fundamentally have a different relationship to technology than maybe Gen X parents did. And so I think that this could also be indicative of a true sea change.
Absolutely could be. I grant that. Absolutely. Yes.
So who wants my yonder?
Yeah, right. So, all right. So thank you guys. Let's move on with the meeting.
So can I, just
sorry.
ask,
Okay.
if I get,
Yeah.
I'm taking the direction or taking it upon myself to start to develop a survey that I would bring back to the board for review in terms of what type of question, because I hear it'd be different bands of parents. I think we'd ask, based on our schools, pre-K to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12.
Teachers.
And teachers.
I'd love
So, yeah.
teachers.
Yep,
And-
okay.
And administrators, students.
Yes, yeah, okay. All right, so we'll draft the survey and share it with you after the
I
meeting.
imagine there's some. I hope out there.
Yeah, I think I think we wanna be straight.
Use AI to find it.
Let me check my phone.
Yeah.
Wait, I got mine right here.
Too soon, sorry.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. All right, so let's move on to our exciting action item part of the agenda. Action item 11. I need a motion to approve the Daniel Hand High School 2026-2027 program of studies that was it was in our packets, but also introduced by Kathy.
So moved.
I'll second Kathy's motion.
Kathy, and that's seconded by Emily. Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Program of study, going once, going twice. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Action item 12. I need a motion to approve an international trip to Costa Rica in April of 2027.
So
So that's Emily, and then seconded by
second.
Kathy. All right, any further discussion? We had some discussion earlier. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Action item 13. I need a motion to waive the second reading and approve the following policies. 1370 non-discrimination, 4116.1 sex discrimination and sexual harassment, 4118.1 non-discrimination, 5020.1 non-discrimination, 5020.3.3 administering medications, and 5120.5 prohibition of sex discrimination and sexual harassment. Do I have a motion to waive the second readings and approve those? So Mary Ann, and do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Lisa, we'll take. Thank you. All right, now, just to remind everybody, proper frame of mind. These were absolutely required statutory changes. So there's no real, can we depart from this on a second reading or come back and change it? No, these were recommended statutory changes by legal counsel. And that's what we're voting on now, is waiving the second reading for that reason and approving them. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Okay, so we've got action item 14. I need a motion to approve a donation from the Lawrence J. Gage Living Trust to Hand Music Boosters in the amount of $12,500 to support the music program at hand. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's Emily, and then seconded by Mary Ann.
That's awesome.
All right, any discussion? I'll start with, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Mr. Gage. Mr. Gage is our band leader and
It's one.
also tennis coach, and sadly his father passed away, I guess, and this is, the estate.
Yeah.
And this is just a wonderful, and we're gonna see with our next action item, kind of split it in half and also made a donation to the tennis boosters. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Gage, and your father. So any other discussion, questions?
Very generous, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, passed unanimously. I need an action item number 15. I need a motion to approve a donation from the Lawrence J. Gage Living Trust to the Hand Tennis Boosters in the amount of $12,500 to support the Hand Girls Tennis Program. Maureen, can I get a second? It was, thank you very much, Jessica. All right, any further discussion other than thanks again, that's amazing. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Action item 16, I need a motion to approve a donation from the Neck River Elementary School PTO to Neck River Elementary School in the amount of $1,650 to purchase sensory materials. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Emily, can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Kathy, thank you both. Any discussion? Sensory materials,
What is-
fantastic.
What is?
It's for like neuro,
Special
yeah, like
chewing toys and.
neurosensitive or
Like
neurodivergent
quick
students
and
have,
yeah.
yeah. Fantastic, what a great use of for a donation. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Action item 17. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the November 18th, 2025 Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Kathy. Can I get a second?
Second that.
Emily, thank you both. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, thank you. Motion carried, nothing, thank you.
We need to add a motion to adopt the finance committee.
Got that. I got it right here, thank you. All right, so I need a motion to open the agenda and add the following action item. To approve the use of $382,727 in end of year funds from fiscal year 2024 to 25 from the non-lapsing education reserve to support the Daniel Hand High School baseball field project. So I need, this is the motion to add it to the agenda.
Yes, and I was imprecise, it's going to the CIP to support that, right? We have,
Yes.
should we specify?
Yes, yes, to go to the CIP.
Emergency fund, okay, here for the mountain reserve,
So it's just be added.
It's gonna offset the cost.
for transfer to the CIP in support of the Daniel Hand. Okay, so I need a motion to open the agenda and add the following action item. To approve the use of $382,727 in end of year funds from fiscal year 24-25 from the non-lapsing education reserve for transfer to the CIP in support of the Daniel Hand High School baseball field project.
So moved.
Thank you, Jessica. Can I get a second?
Second.
That's Lisa. Thank you. Thank you both. Any questions? Now, again, this is just a motion to open the agenda to vote on whether we add this action item to the agenda. This is not a substantive vote on the question yet. That comes next. So, all in favor of adding it to the agenda? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries 9-0. It is now an action item, which will be action item 18. I need a motion to approve of what, let me rewrite this for a second. All right, I need a motion to approve the use of $382,727 in end of year funds from fiscal year 2024-2025 from the non-lapsing education reserve to the CIP in support of the Daniel Hand High School baseball field project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right,
I'll second it.
you.
Emily's got it all second.
Well, I already wrote Galen, so Emily will
I'll
second
second
it. Thank you. All right, any discussion on this? Does everybody understand what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay, no discussion, all in
Seth?
favor? Aye.
I have a question.
All opposed, what?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead, Diane.
So, what else was looked at to use the funds for? Besides the baseball field?
So that was the preference, the administration discussed it, it's a project that's ready to go. That has been approved that we just did not have funding for, so that was really the piece. As you know, it's gotta be a one-time purchase. We'll have other things that came up through this budget, but that was really the priority as we discussed as a administrative team.
Okay, thanks.
And the idea is with our reserve fund that we're allowed to carry up to 2% over from year to year. It's a real premium that we place on using it for like one-time expenditures and not for recurring expenditures, because we don't want to artificially boost our budget in that way. This keeps our budget basis lower if we use it on one-time expenditures. So, thank you. Any other questions, concerns, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? I'm sorry, Mary Ann, was that it? Did I see your hand up? Or
Yes,
it's stuck in-
and I.
It's stuck in the yonder.
All of a sudden, she's
Yeah,
she's Gallagher. If one really.
yeah. All right, so that's 9-0, unanimous vote, thank you. All right, so agenda item 19. No. Is it? Yeah, 19. Any future agenda items?
I have one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm on the committee for the 200th year celebration of our town. So at our last meeting, well, I didn't go to the last one, but the one before that, but I've been in contact with them. We're trying to figure out what we can do to engage our students. So I think that we they don't really know, I could really say, but if we could discuss that and see what ideas, originally we were gonna have the clay bells, but they're not doing that now because the clay, apparently the teacher's not there, or is not able to do it. So, we need to engage the kids somehow, either as volunteers or, but I, we need ideas.
Sure, I received the draft agenda of the events.
Oh, did you? Oh, good. Okay.
From Peggy Lyons just the other day.
Okay.
And so I'll have some information to bring.
Yeah,
It.
yeah.
Most are gonna occur over the summer, so there'll be a challenge of how we.
Well, it's like,
involve
it'll
students,
be
but,
May to like July 4th,
Yep.
but most people are really here July 4th, at least, even the kids that would go away or, so hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's great. We'll,
Yeah, so think about it if you think like little kids or bigger kids.
Or maybe they could even do related events at the end of the year, like a concert or
So
something,
then we can have some ideas, that'd be great.
and we'll just advertise this is part of our ongoing, celebration. All right, thank you. All right, so do you just want to take that as an administrative?
Yeah, we
Yes.
just put that on the,
Or do you want to put on a future?
yeah, I just don't know if the first one in January would give us enough time or
Yeah.
it's a pretty packed agenda already, so maybe the second. It's January.
Okay, thank you. So it will hit an agenda.
Yeah.
Later in January.
So I was gonna roll it out.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So
Mary Ann, seconded by Kathy. And that would be at 9:07. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Yeah, or you know.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.